Hello, and welcome to some more fanfiction reading. So, we are continuing with Her Touch, yes, by BambooGreen. So, we're in chapter 5, and I would like to try to get this done, like, relatively quickly, just because. So, we are going to continue and go as far as we can this episode, and then we will continue on next time. Just because, I'd like to get this one done pretty soon just so I don't have to, I don't know, like, deal with it another time. Alright, let's go. Chapter 5, Levy's POV. I woke up early before the sun had even risen and grown slightly. I crawled out of bed and padded over towards the large window before pushing it open. I frowned slightly as I looked at the darkened city. My senses may not be that of my supernatural friends, but my sixth sense never failed me. Something was here. I very carefully closed the window before hurrying over to my bag. I pulled a silver handgun out of the side pocket and grabbed an extra clip, tucking it into the waistband of my sleep shorts. I left my room and started down the hall, trying not to wake anyone as I went. I nearly jumped out of my skin and had to bite down on a scream when a large hand grabbed my arm. I turned and glared up at Kajil, who was smirking at me. "Getting a midnight snack, shrimp?" he joked, and I rolled my eyes. "It's Levy, and no, I'm not. There's something outside, and I'm going to find out what it is," I said quietly before continuing down the hall. "I'm coming too, then," he said, as he followed behind me. "I can handle myself," I muttered, and he chuckled as he ruffled my hair. I pouted as I felt my face heat up. "Don't get so defensive, Shrimp. I'm your partner. The old man would skin me if I let you go alone and something happened to you." I felt my face get hotter, and I swatted his hand away from my head. I don't know why, but knowing he would have my back made me happy. I shrugged it off before finally making it outside. The night was crisp, and I regretted not grabbing at least my shoes. Kajil stepped up beside me and took a few breaths of the air before frowning. "It's only a demon, but not Ivan," he said, taking another sniff. "One of his group, perhaps?" I asked. He grunted slightly. "It's possible if we catch them. Maybe they can tell us where their boss is," he said with a wicked grin. I couldn't help the smirk that crossed my own face as we circled the building, following Gajil's nose. The streets were quiet, and I had a bad feeling deep within my gut. I clung to my gun and walked a bit closer to Gajil, but not so close he wouldn't be able to shift or follow the scent. He suddenly stopped as the alley we were following crossed with another, and a deep growl rumbled in his chest. I had been around werewolves before, but something about the deep sound in Gajil's chest sent chills down my spine. I stepped up beside him, careful not to brush against him in the confined space. On the other end of the alley was a lone figure. Its features were covered in the shadows of the light behind it, but along the ground its true form was revealed in a silhouette. Tattered wings brushed the stone walls on either side. Its true figure hunched with long claws and tattered rags clung to its body. Hag raven, I think. Gajil growled. Hag ravens were demons that took the form of old women, their limbs bony with wrinkled skin, long crooked noses, greasy black hair, and clawed hands made up this bird-like demon. "We need her alive," I said, and he grunted slightly, his skin beginning to shift. In a swift moment, the raven-haired man was no longer beside me, but a wolf, black as night, stood there. He was probably the tallest werewolf I had ever seen. He could set his head on my shoulder if he wanted. The figure before us let out a loud shriek before dashing at us, her human guise melting away. Gajil dashed forward, a growl ripping from his throat as he tore down the alley. I leveled my gun and fired off 3 shots, each landing in the hag raven's stomach. She barely stumbled before colliding with the large wolf. He clamped his jaws under her shoulder, tackling her to the ground. Her tattered black wings flapped uselessly against the ground as she shrieked and tried to shake herself free. Kajil kept a tight hold of her as she thrashed, and I hurried to him. Good job, Fluffy," I said with a smirk causing him to snort. Now he didn't bring anything to tie her up with. "Can you drag her back?" With another snort, he started back down the alley, the hag raven dragging beneath him, thrashing. Oh! I rolled my eyes as I followed the large wolf back through the dark streets. Gajo's POV. Damn, woman making me drag this demon back. Shit, she tastes awful. We finally made it back to Extalia as the sun peeked over the horizon. We were greeted by none other than Lily at the front doors. I was wondering where you two went, and you've got a friend, he said with a small smirk. Is there any place we can store her, Lily? The shrimp asked, as she held the door open for me to drag the thrashing demon inside. Downstairs we got some cells for full moon, he said, pointing us towards the opposite side of the room. Lily walked ahead of me again, holding the door open. Before I could move, Lily reached down and hoisted the hag raven by her arm. Figured you could use a hand, he said with a chuckle. I righted myself on two legs and spat slightly before grabbing her other arm. God, that was awful. I spat more as with Lily's help, we took the demon to the cells below. Once the screeching woman was locked up, I turned towards Lily, who was standing behind us. She was very pointedly looking away, and her face was very red. What's the matter with you? I snorted. She opened her mouth to speak, but no sound came out. Instead, she pointed at me, and I looked down. It was then I was reminded that I had shredded my clothes in the alley. I smirked. What's wrong, Shrimp? She frowned. Just put some clothes on and we'll get started. She grumbled, and I laughed. I headed for the stairs, ruffling her hair as I went. Oh. Chapter 6. Kaji's POV, I guess. Once dressed, I returned to the basement, making a mental note to buy another outfit. The old man had only bought me two, and I had shredded the other one not even 2 days after he had gotten it for me. Damn, he's gonna be pissed. I shrugged. That's what he got for buying me such tight clothes. Loose things were better because I could throw them off faster, and they had more chance of surviving my shift if I didn't have time to take them off. Ah! Better? I asked once I found the shrimp. Much, she huffed, though I noticed she was still trying hard not to look at me. I frowned, looking down at the outfit. It consisted of the same pants as before, riding too low for my taste, thanks to my height, and a dark gray V-neck. My boots, thankfully, I hadn't had on for our nightmare stroll, so they were still in one piece in my room. I left them there, but did sneak into Shrimp's room and grab her slippers. I had noticed the way she had been shivering while we were outside, and knew we'd probably be in the cold basement for a while. That with that damned hag raven. Here, I said, handing her the shoes. She looked surprised, but took them. Thanks. How did... You were shivering, I shrugged. Don't think into it too much, I added, though I didn't know why. It would affect our assignment if you got sick. I grumbled when she smiled knowingly at me. Thank you. Shall we begin? Lily asked, raising an eyebrow as he looked amusingly between the two of us. Yeah, I nodded, ignoring him. I went to the hag raven's cell, crouching in front of it. Where's Ivan? I asked, getting straight to the point. The full moon was tomorrow night, so I didn't have time to aimlessly search anymore. She made sort of a hissing noise at me before spitting in my face. Furious, I reached through the bars and grabbed the front of her tattered shirt. I pulled hard, causing her face to smash into the bars with an audible crunch that I knew was her ugly nose. Where is Ivan? I growled. She laughed, even as blood that had the scent of death ran down her face from her broken nose. That sorry excuse of a guild doesn't have much longer. Master Ivan is going to exterminate all of you disgusting human-borns, and anyone who would choose humans over their own superior kind. With another growl, I moved to slam her into the bars once again, but Shrimp put her hand on my arm. Just as quickly as it was there, she had removed it, as if she was afraid of taking my powers for too long. Let me talk to her, Levy said. Sighing, I released the hag raven, standing up and taking a few steps away from the cell. When the hag raven made a hissing noise at Levy, I felt Lily's strong hand clamp down on my shoulder, and I realized I had stepped towards the cell. Oh boy. I'm Levy, she began, ignoring the hag raven's angered sounds. I want you to tell us where Ivan is. If you cooperate with us, we will spare your life, and you may leave this place. Shrimp, I began angrily, but Lily shook his head, telling me to just watch. I know who you are, the hag raven smiled, her wrinkled skin pulling tightly as the wicked grin spread across her face. I know what you are too, soulless. How do you know that? Levy asked, surprised. Master Ivan has great plans for you, she snickered. Very soon. Yes, it won't be long now. What the hell are you going on about, hag? I growled. Her eyes shot to me, and she sneered. Master Ivan will kill you all. Your putrid human blood will soak the streets, and Master will become the ruler of the pure blood supernaturals. Levy's POV. I sighed and stood up when the hag raven fell into a fit of shrieking laughter. We need to send word to Master Makarov that there may be an attack on Fairy Tale. In the meantime, we need to be extra cautious and pay attention to any sudden purist group activity. And what are we supposed to do with her? Gajo growled, glaring at the ugly demon. We'll try to interrogate her again in a few hours. For now, you two should get some rest. You were up most of the night traveling, and then left early to search for the hag raven, Lily said. I nodded in agreement, stifling a yawn. Let's send word to Makarov, then go back to bed. Most pureblood supernaturals are strongest at night, so I'd say we're safe until tonight. What? He even annoyed Huff, and I remembered the full moon. It'll be all right, I told him, smiling. We can always put you next to that hag raven if I can't control you. I laughed as he grumbled curses under his breath. A loud crashing sound upstairs caused all of us to look up. My eyes shot back down to the hag raven when she began laughing again. Time's up, she grinned. Master's men have arrived. Oh boy. Levy's POV. Chapter 7-ish. I ran up the stairs two at a time as I followed Lily, Gajo right on my tail. The echoing laughter from the hag raven was left in the cell below as we burst into the main hall. Very few members had made it in so early in the morning, but they were doing their best to fight off what could only be called a small army. More than 24 demons were fighting the handful of were-felines, jaguars, tigers, and cheetahs were all locked in the brawl. Whatever. Lily growled and shifted himself, taking the form of a large panther before dashing into the fray. I pulled the gun from my waistband and my shorts and headed for the second floor, hoping to get a good shooting spot. Gajo followed me and almost ran into me as I stopped. Gajo, you can be more help down there, he frowned. If what that hag said was true, I can't take my eyes off you. I tried to ignore the heat in my face and smirked slightly. I'm a big girl, Gajo. I ignored his amused snort. I can take care of myself. I will call Master for backup and come back out. Now go, he frowned again before turning for the stairs, shedding his clothes before quickly shifting. I ran for the room at the top of the stairs, Shagat's office, knowing there was a communication lacrima inside. I opened the door and slipped inside, quickly looking around before going to the large crystal. It flashed softly for a few moments before an image appeared. Good morning, Levy, Mira said with a smile. Sorry, Mira, no time. I've been struck here at Extalia and we don't have the manpower. She frowned and nodded. Help is on behind you. I dove away from the lacrima as she shrieked and exploded the next instant. I rolled to my feet and turned, gun raised, to see a black scaly tail disappearing into the shadows. Shadow Stalker. Shit, I mentally cursed, turning in a slow circle as I watched the office. Shadow Stalkers were lizard men. Their lizard hides black and their claws and teeth were deadly. As their name implies, they move in the shadows and were more useful at night where everything was shadowed. I slowly backed towards the window where there was nothing but light, but then I paused. If there was something in the street and it saw me, it would come through the window. The next best option was to head into the main hall. I took a quick look around before making a mad dash to open the door. Nearly there. Just as my luck goes, though, before I made it to the door, a large scaly hide crashed into my side. Gajo's POV. Damn woman ordering me around. I thought to myself as I tore into another demon. It was too chaotic to really pay attention to what happened, to what kind. I kept looking up to the room where Shrimp had disappeared, but she hadn't come back, and a knot was twisting my stomach, but I ignored it. She could take care of herself. I yelped as a large gray-skinned demon sunk its teeth into my side before I turned and gripped its neck. I flung it to the side, sending it crashing into its own allies. More of the cats were showing up, but they weren't putting much of a dent into them. I growled in frustration, and as what seemed to be more came in, and the shrimp still hadn't showed up. Then her scent drifted into my nose, that smell of ink and sunlight. I looked up, frowning slightly when I didn't see her. Her scent seemed to move along the edge of the room, but I still wasn't able to see her. Then I saw her. And I felt my heart stop. A shadow stalker appeared in the light of the open doors, Levy's limp, bruised body under its arm. I roared in anger as I tried to charge through the massive demons, but there were too many. Then they were gone. My blood was boiling, and all I saw was red, and I tore through any demon dumb enough to get in my way. More continued to pour in through the doors, and before we got a break. A blast of fire erupted through the doors, followed by the salamander. His horns protruded from his head, and his forearms were covered in red scales, and his hands were clawed. Titania was behind him, a large sword in her hands as she shouted a battle cry, fuck, followed by a small army of our own from Fairy Tale. None of this mattered to me. The only thing it did was that Levy was gone. It's terrible. Chapter 8. Again, Kasha's POV. Once Fairy Tale arrived, the fight ended quickly. After the last few demons were taken care of, I sprinted towards the wrecked doors, hoping to catch up with Levy and the Shadow Stalker. They can't have gone too far. I can catch her scent. I'll be able to find her. Wait, Lily said, suddenly appearing in front of me. He had shifted back into his human form. I noticed a few gashes across his chest and on his arms. I growled at him, refusing to transform back. He's wasting time. That damn demon will get away with Levy. Kajio, Makarov said. Shift back. It will be useless to go blindly after her. Let's come up with a strategy. I sighed, giving him a small nod. I felt my muscles contract as the shift changed my body. In no time, I was crossing my arms and scowling down at the old man. Let's make a plan quickly. Perhaps the Hag Raven will be able to give us more information, Lily suggested. Good idea. I retrieved my clothes and put them on as I made my way to the cells in the basement. The Hag Raven was staring at us excitedly when we finally reached her. Did they succeed? She asked, a wicked grin in her face. Master Ivan's plan was a success, wasn't it? I reached through the bars and grabbed her by the throat. Where are they taking her? You're going to die, she cackled, unaffected by my hand around her throat. Master Ivan will kill you all. I'm going to kill you if you don't start talking, damn it, I snarled, beating her face against the bars. Tell me where that bastard took Levy. When you find her, it will already be too late, she snickered. Master Ivan has her now, and there's no way you can stop him. Oof, Levy's POV. Damn, I groaned, feeling consciousness slowly beginning to come back to me. It felt like I had been hit by a bag of bricks. Oh yeah, I kind of was, I grumbled, remembering how the Shadow Stalker had slammed into me full force. The impact had knocked me out, and then it must have run off with me after that. The battle was in full swing when I went upstairs, so I hope Lily, Gagio, and the others are alright. While I know they could take care of a few pesky demons like those with no problem, I also knew Gagio was exhausted and was getting close to the full moon, meaning the moon rage will begin affecting him as the day progresses. Come nightfall, he will lose control completely. I need to make it back to him by then. The only problem was, I had no idea where the Shadow Stalker had taken me. I made my way to my feet, stretching my bruised muscles. The room I was in was well lit, so I could see perfectly. Unfortunately, there wasn't really anything to see. There was absolutely nothing in the room, not even a window or a chair. Good afternoon, Levy. I spun around, automatically reaching for my gun. I looked down in momentary panic when I realized it was gone, but quickly returned my eyes back to the source of the voice, not wanting to take my eyes off of him too long. Ivan, I said coldly. I hope my Shadow Stalker wasn't too rough on you, he smiled. There was nothing friendly about his expression. On the contrary, it sent chills down my spine and had a spike of fear straight to my gut. There was death in his smile. What do you want with me, Ivan? I asked, backing towards the lone door I had spotted before he had come. I'm going to use you, he said, with the smile never leaving his face. For what? I continued, slowly backing towards the door, grateful that he didn't seem to notice or he didn't care. To annihilate Fairy Tale, his words froze me in place, and I found myself gaping at him with wide eyes. What makes you think I would help you do anything, let alone destroy my family? I asked, incredulous. Because you will have no choice, Ivan smirked. Everything goes according to plan. I'll be able to use your powers to render all of the human-borns completely powerless, making them easy targets. After that, the rest of Fairy Tale will be destroyed. Once those human lovers are out of the way, I can move on to the other guilds. They will either join me or die. You're crazy if you think that'll work. I frowned. My powers only work while I'm touching a human-born. You can't really take out an entire guild like that. For now. What does that mean? I asked. In time, my pawn. He disappeared before I could question him further, leaving behind only an echo of laughter. Gagio, I sighed to myself. Hurry the hell up. And just because I don't want this episode to be too long, or really any of these episodes, what? Fuck. I don't know. What am I saying? Okay. So, yeah, I don't want this episode to be too long, so we're going to end it here. And then the next video will start with this chapter stuff. Yeah, sure. Close enough.